Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I want to kick things off by having you ask yourself a pretty fundamental question. What does true justice actually look like? We usually picture justice as a set of rules written down in some giant thick law book, or maybe a grand courthouse with huge pillars. But think about it. If those laws are just words on a piece of paper, and that grand courthouse is literally hundreds of miles out of your reach, is that actually justice? Today, we're going to look way past the paperwork and uncover the actual mechanics of how fair governance is built in the real world.
So let's dive into this by looking at a real-world administrative milestone. On August 20th, 2026, the Union Cabinet of India made a huge, landmark decision to establish a dedicated Jammu and Kashmir High Court bench right in Ladakh. Now, this isn't just some simple construction project up in the Himalayas. It's actually our primary case study today for understanding the very essence of access to justice. We're going to use this specific news event to decode some of the most profound ethical dilemmas that policymakers face every single day.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The Ladakh court decision. 2. Equality versus equity explained. 3. Three pillars of justice. 4. The budget allocation dilemma. And 5. Resolving the case study.
Section 1. The Ladakh court decision.
Okay, so before this recent 2026 decision, citizens living in the remote, high-altitude region of Ladakh had a massive problem. To deal with literally any high court matters, they had to travel all the way to Srinagar or Jammu. Just imagine trying to navigate incredibly harsh geographic terrain, extreme mountain weather, and massive distances just to get a hearing. So the crucial point here is this. Even if a substantive law is perfectly written and totally fair, if everyday citizens can't easily, timely, and affordably reach the court, it's a complete failure of procedural justice. The geographic distance itself literally becomes a barrier that denies them justice.
Section 2. Equality versus equity.
Now, this concept is basically the beating heart of the government's decision. We constantly mix up these two words, right? On one hand, we have equality, that's giving everyone the exact same treatment, totally regardless of their starting line. But on the other hand, we have equity, which means providing extra support based on someone's unique circumstances so we can achieve real practical fairness. Setting up a specific high court bench in Ladakh, that is a textbook example of equity. The government isn't just treating everyone the same, they're stepping up to provide targeted, extra facilities to help the people of Ladakh overcome a very distinct, severe geographical disadvantage.
Let's look at how this builds into our broader legal framework by contrasting formal justice with substantive justice. Formal justice is just the existence of a law on paper. It's theoretical. Substantive justice, though, is the real-world, practical ability of a citizen to actually use that law. In India, Articles 14 and 39A of the Constitution demand exactly this. Article 39A specifically directs the state to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen because of economic or other disabilities. Establishing this Ladakh bench is a huge leap from just formal justice straight into substantive justice.
Section 3. Three pillars of justice.
So, how do policymakers philosophically justify these massive administrative pushes? Well, the first pillar comes from the philosopher John Rawls. It's called the difference principle. Rawls argued that justice systems absolutely must be designed from the perspective of the least advantaged, or in this case, the most remote citizen. You don't build a system for the people who already have it easiest. Bringing the judiciary directly to the remote citizens of Ladakh is the literal administrative rollout of Rawls's exact idea. It redistributes resources to directly benefit those who are geographically the most vulnerable.
The second pillar is Nobel laureate Amartya Sen's capability approach. Sen argues that true development isn't just about handing people rights. It's about increasing their real, practical capability to exercise those rights. Having a theoretical right to a fair trial is absolutely meaningless if you don't have the practical capability to physically or financially reach the courtroom. By building a bench in Ladakh, the government is directly increasing the capabilities of the citizens living there.
And our third pillar is Mahatma Gandhi's concept of antyodaya. This basically translates to the upliftment of the last. Gandhi believed that you should evaluate any policy or administrative decision based on whether it reaches the absolute last, most deprived person in society. It's totally a last person first mentality. Taking the High Court all the way to the borders of Ladakh ensures that the most isolated person in the entire nation is not forgotten by the justice system.
Section 4. The budget allocation dilemma. All right, it's time to put all this theory into practice. Welcome to the brutal reality of bureaucracy. I want you to step into the shoes of a law ministry secretary for a minute. You are the decision maker and you are facing a strictly limited budget. You have the political directive to set up this much-needed bench in Ladakh, which requires massive funds for judges, staff, and a permanent building. But sitting on your desk is also a years-old demand from several severely deprived, remote districts in the Northeast, and they're asking for circuit benches. You only have enough money to fully fund one major project right now. What do you do?
Notice the heavily competing interests at play here. On one side, you have your stakeholders, the citizens of Ladakh, the citizens of the Northeast, the judiciary, and political leaders. On the other side, you have exactly what makes governance so agonizing, the competing interests. Ladakh is a border region with high strategic priority and a ton of political visibility. But the Northeast districts suffer from equal, if not worse, geographical deprivation. They just might not be in the news as much today. It is a brutal choice between political expediency and the core principle of equal deprivation. Do you provide an immediate full solution for one, or a phased, broader solution for both?
Section 5. Resolving the case study.
Let's look at your options. You basically have two distinct policy paths on your desk. Option 1. You give the entire budget to Ladakh to build a fully functioning permanent bench immediately, and you delay the Northeast's demands for another year or more. Option 2, you split the limited budget. You set up partial temporary circuit benches and e-courts in both Ladakh and the Northeast right now, and you publish a binding 2 to 3 year roadmap detailing exactly how both regions will get full facilities over time.
As an ethical administrator, the absolute best course of action here is option 2. While option 1 might be faster for Ladakh and would definitely please the immediate political pressures, it signals deeply unequal treatment to the citizens in the Northeast. Option 2 might seem a bit slower initially, but it masterfully balances equity, transparency, and inclusive governance over the long haul. It acknowledges that suffering and lack of access are equally painful, totally regardless of geographic location or strategic importance.
Let's look at exactly why option 2 works so well by mapping it right back to our 3 pillars. For John Rawls, splitting the budget and creating a roadmap distributes resources to benefit all marginalized groups, not just the one currently in the spotlight. For Amartya Sen, option 2 increases the practical capability to access justice at an equal, steady pace for citizens in both regions. And for Mahatma Gandhi's Antyodaya, it ensures that the last person in Ladakh and the last person in the Northeast are both receiving help simultaneously, ignoring mere political noise in favor of universal human dignity.
If there is one ultimate lesson to take away from the historic Ladakh decision and our budget case study, it can be distilled into one really powerful principle. True good governance isn't just about equal treatment. It is about intentionally striving for equal outcomes. It's the active and honestly sometimes very difficult process of recognizing historical and geographic disadvantages and dedicating the extra work required to bridge that gap.
I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder from our explainer today. Are making laws and ensuring access to them two completely different moral duties? Writing a fair law is, honestly, the easy part. But building the roads, allocating the budgets, and setting up the physical courts so that every single citizen can access that law, that is the heavy, complex moral weight of administration. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how justice actually works in the